Hey guys, how's it going? Avishai here with another episode of What Israel Is. Today I will abstain from talking about politics as much as possible and instead dedicate this episode to something that is of particular interest for me, one of my greatest passions possibly, being philology or traditional linguistics. I want to talk about one word that is often repeated when talking about Jews, being Semitic. So, what is Semitic? I once referenced on this podcast the words of Helen Thomas, late White House correspondent, who claimed to be more Semitic than all of those Israelis, referencing her Lebanese background. If I'm not mistaken, she was half Lebanese. Anyway, is Semitic then a word that denotes ethnicity? Well, no, it doesn't. There is no Semitic ethnic group. So, if that is the case, then why do we say anti-Semitic when referencing the hatred of Jews? So, first off, what is Semitic? Semitic means of the people of Shem. Shem being one of the three sons of Noah. So one of the three forebearers of humanity, if you like. And it also refers to a particular language of families. Supposedly, the languages of those people who come from Shem. So that is what Semitic supposedly means. But the notion that a group of people speaking similar languages are also tied in along ethnic lines, that is a rather obsolete and unscientific theory that dates back to the days of Enlightenment, and from which sprung many of our world's most horrible and horrid ideologies, not the least of which is Nazism. So no, this is one point that should be made, is that people speaking similar languages are not necessarily genetically or ethnically close. This is probably best seen when you look at what the Nazis themselves claimed, their claim of being Aryans. And when you look at a German person and compare his physical characteristics with those of a typical North Indian or a Persian person, well, it is quite evident that they don't have all that much in common as far as genetics go. So yeah, divest yourself of that particular notion. Languages work in very curious ways, and nations work in very curious ways, and those are not parallel. Neighboring people will adopt languages from one another and impact the languages of one another, even as they may be completely separate, and with both groups practicing endogamy, that is, not intermarrying, etc. So once we've gone through this hurdle of ethnic as of Semitic as an ethnic group, which it isn't, what is Semitic then? And why do we say anti-Semitic? We say anti-Semitic because essentially the word is obsolete and euphemistic. We use it because that's the word that was used in the 19th century, and it's convenient to keep using it. But it's obsolete in much the same way that saying Indian while referring to a Native American is obsolete, and in much the same way that saying gypsy when referring to one of the Romani people is obsolete. So what are Semitic languages, and how are they special? So what is special about Semitic languages? There's several things that makes them special. For one thing, grammatical gender is different than what you typically expect in a Indo-European language, that is, for example, English or French or Spanish, and most of the languages of Europe. And it's different, the gender is different in that verbs, adjectives, and numbers are all gendered, all change according to gender. So the word for, say, pretty is different when you pair it with a male object. For example, Yeled Yafe, a pretty child, a boy, and a female object. For example, Yalda Yafa, a pretty girl. And again, numbers. So Shnei Yeladim Yafim, two pretty boys, and Shtei Yaldot Yafot, two pretty girls. What else is special about Semitic languages is that we have verbs are constructed with three-letter stems, and then this makes it more easier to conjugate them and understand the way it all works. We have conjugational constructs that allow us to play with verbs in a way that is different from what what we have in English, for example. I took the example of the verb katav, meaning to write. So this is one construct. Ani kotev, ani katavti, ve'ani echtov. I am writing, I wrote, and I will write. And then we have a passive construct. Hasefer nichtav, hasefer nichtav, the same, and הספר ייכתב. The book is being written. The book was written. And the book will be written. And then we have a different construct for acting upon something or someone else. So, אני מכתיב, אני הכתבתי, and אני אכתיב. I am dictating, which is what I am doing. I dictated, and I will dictate. And then we have a passive form for this construct. המבחן מוכתב, המבחן הוכתב, and המכתב יוכתב. The test is being dictated, the test was dictated, and the test will be dictated. And lastly, though there are other constructs, but some are not appropriate for specific verb stems. אני מתכתב, אני התכתבתי, and אני מתכתב, אני אתכתב, sorry. And this particular construct is special, and it denotes several different things. It denotes a continuous action that is sometimes passive or mutual, or an action that is performed by the self on himself, or a changing of a status. אני מתכתב, which is the form, what I just said, that means I will correspond. I am corresponding with somebody. One thing that you can note is how these conjugational constructs eliminate the need for words, essentially. Whereas in English, a passive form for a verb is the book is being written, so 4 words. In Hebrew, it's הספר נכתב, 2 words. Letters also work differently. Letters, essentially, we only have consonants in Hebrew and in all other Semitic languages, with the exception of Maltese, which is written in Latin alphabet, and so it has vowels written as letters. But Semitic languages traditionally only have consonants, whereas vowels are written as diacritical marks that are added on the letters. And some different consonants are, for example, V and B are allophonous in Hebrew and in Semitic languages. And allophonous means that they are written and represented by the same letter. And in Hebrew they are differentiated by a diacritic, a mark. So we have these pairings are, for example, bet and vet. So B and V are written by using the same letter. Pei, fei, kaf, chaf. All of those are written using the same letter, and they are only differentiated by using a diacritic. One thing to note is that modern Hebrew does not have diacritics. It should, but you never see diacritics outside of children's books and poetry books. We use a form of writing which is essentially wrong, and one has to kind of intuit which consonant is being used, and it's a mess. But that's just the way it is, and there's not much to be done about this. Something a bit more historical about Semitic languages. So Semitic languages is a pretty big family historically. We have the Western Semitic languages, which include all sorts of Cna'anite dialects, Hebrew being one of those. We have South Semitic languages, which include an ancient Yemenite language and Ge'ez, which is an ancient East African language which has developed into modern Amharic, as well as the languages of the other languages of Ethiopia, Sudan, and Eritrea, being Tigrinya, and I can't quite remember, I think Tigra or something similar to that. And then there are, I believe, Central Semitic languages, which include the language, Akkadian language of Babylon and Assyria, and Arabic, which is a matter of some contention about which branch it belongs to. Some claim that it is closer to South Arabic, South Semitic languages. Others say it is more central or more Western. It's a bit. It's a matter of contention. But I thought it might be interesting for you to kind of get a notion of how similar Hebrew and Arabic are in some senses. So I made a short list of Hebrew and Arabic cognates, so words which are similar and derived from the same place. So one, the number one, echad in Hebrew, rather ehad, and in Arabic, wahad. And then you have, I'll just do the numbers. So echad, wahad, one. Shnaim, nin, two. Shalosh, talate, three. Arba, arba, four. Hamesh, hamsa, five. Shesh, site, six. Sheva, saba. Shmone, tamanya, eight. Tesha, tisa, nine. Esel, ashara, 10. And then we have some other cognates. So Laila, Leil, night. Yom, Yum, day. Arnav, Arnab, rabbit. Kelev, Kalb, dog. Hamor, Hamar, donkey. Namer, Nimmer, leopard. Eretz, Ard, earth. Kochav, Kaukab, star. Sefina, Safina, ship. Ma'arav, Gharb, west. Lev, Kalb, part. Sa'ad, sa'ad, help. Though in Hebrew, the term is more specialized and refers more to supporting the needy and infirm. And lastly, shalom, salam, peace. There are, of course, a lot more of these cognates. One thing in particular in which Hebrew is different from Arabic and also from South Semitic languages is that Hebrew has only two plural forms. And plural forms are achieved in Hebrew and also in Arabic by fixing a suffix, which is typically different for male and female. So im is typically male suffix, and ot is typically female suffix. It's the same in Arabic. You have in for male and at for female. So, but Arabic has a third plural form, which is an irregular form. And this also exists, I understand, in Amharic and in the other South Semitic languages, where the noun does not receive a suffix, but instead the vowel changes. There's a vowel change within the noun. So whereas in Hebrew, for example, kochav, the star, turns into kochavim in the plural. In Arabic, kaukab, the same word, does not become kaukabin. Rather, kaukab becomes kawakib. Really, that's a bit of a an outlook on what Semitic means and what the Semitic languages are like and how they are different from those languages which we, or rather, people in the West are more used to. And I know this was a short episode, but I hope I did something a bit different, and I hope you enjoyed it. And, well, have an awesome weekend.